Soggy people. I'm so glad that you left your house tonight to come be with us on this Christmas Eve. I don't know about you, but that is the only time in my entire life I have stood waiting for a Christmas service to start and hear lightning and thunder. But it's still a very, very special night. A very special day. Boys and girls, can you see me okay? This one is always for you on Christmas Eve. So try to get someplace where you can see me okay. I want to tell you a story, like I always do on Christmas Eve. I want to tell you a story about when I was a kid. When I was a kid, there were many years when I felt like a misfit. When I felt strange and like I didn't fit. You see, some of you know this, but when I was born with legs that were very, very crooked. I had trouble walking, and there was no way I could run. My legs at the knees went in completely, and my legs below the knees came way out. So I didn't know it at the time, but I was very different from the other kids. So my mom and my dad wanted to do something to make it better, so they took me to the doctor, and the doctor said, okay, we're going to put braces on his legs. And we don't see braces anymore. No one wears them. But in my day, that was the way to fix this. So braces were steel rods that went down the outside of my legs and the inside of my legs, on both legs, and they attached into these lovely pair of orthopedic shoes that were just my favorites. And they were tied together with big leather straps. Now the idea was that the steel rods were straight and my legs were crooked. And if I wore them long enough and walked around in them long enough, as I grew, my legs would straighten out. Well, the good news is that it worked. I'm happy to say my legs are pretty straight, although you can't tell in my dress. But it took 4 years of wearing those braces day in and day out, oftentimes even sleeping in them, for my legs to straighten out. And so I always felt like a misfit. I always felt strange and unusual. And so can you guess what my favorite Christmas TV show always was? Can you guess? Who? The choir got it. Rudolph. That's right. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. How many people have seen Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Raise your hand. All right, parents, you want to feel really old? Rudolph came out over 50 years ago. That freaked me out when I found that out this week. Rudolph was my very favorite TV show because I thought Rudolph and I had a lot in common. He was a misfit and I was a misfit. His name was Rudolph and my real name is Randolph. We even had names alike. He had his glowing nose. I had my crooked legs. He wasn't allowed to play in any reindeer games, and I never got picked to play kickball. Ever. Everybody go, oh, thank you very much. But it's true, I never got picked to play kickball, so I loved Rudolph. Plus, if you remember the show, Rudolph's friends are misfits as well. Herbie, his friend, is an elf. Who doesn't want to be an elf? What does Herbie want to be? A dentist. Herbie. I wonder if we could do this well with the story of Jesus. That's what I'm wondering. That's right. Herbie wants to be a dentist. And on the island of misfit toys, there are all kinds of toys there that are just like Rudolph. What's there? There is a choo-choo train that has what kind of wheels? Square wheels, that's right. There's an elephant that has what? That gets a little harder, doesn't it? Polka dots, that's right. And there's a bird that can't fly. This bird only likes to swim. He would come in handy today, wouldn't he? That's right, there was a whole island of misfit toys. And my favorite was the squirt gun that only squirted jelly. I always wanted to have one of those. When I was a kid with my leg braces, I related to these misfit toys. I was one of them, and they sort of felt like friends for me. Well, we all know how Rudolph ends. Rudolph ends up saving Christmas. His strange, glowing nose turns out to be a great gift. And he saves Christmas because he leads the sleigh and helps Santa be able to find his way. Rather than being a misfit, Rudolph becomes an important part of the team. He's different from the other reindeers, but he's special. Well, in my own life, like I said, the leg braces worked. It took 4 years, but my legs are strong, and I think because I wore those braces, I was able to be an athlete when I was younger, and I've always been able to run. But most important to me about those leg braces is they taught me what it feels like to be a misfit. They taught me what it feels like to be someone who's different than others. I think all of us can feel like misfits sometimes in our lives. Maybe we don't think we're smart enough. Maybe we don't think we're tall enough. Maybe we don't think we're pretty enough or wealthy enough. Maybe we don't think we can run very fast or jump very high. Maybe we're terrible at math. Or maybe it takes us an extra long time to read and write. But there are lots of things that can make us feel like misfits. But the great wonder and promise of Christmas, the thing that I love the most about it is that when the baby Jesus comes, God sends him to love all of us, misfits and everyone else included. Think about it. Jesus himself comes as a misfit. Jesus is a king, but he's not born in a palace. Where is he born? You can say that louder. That's right, he's born in a stable. Jesus isn't surrounded by doctors and nurses, he's surrounded by farm animals and shepherds. He doesn't come from a wealthy family. He comes from a poor carpenter and a young mother who traveled a long, long way from home for him to be born. But he's God's son. And that's what we are all about tonight, giving thanks for the birth of God's Son. He comes to tell us that in his kingdom, things are going to be different. That in his kingdom, the misfits and the outcasts have a special place. That in his kingdom, no one gets left out. God comes to love us all. And the great wonder of Christmas is that this all-powerful God becomes just like we are, a human being, to let us know that we are loved and valued, even though none of us are perfect, even though all of us are misfits at one time or another. So tomorrow, when you open your presents, anybody here getting presents tomorrow? Yeah? Is Santa coming? Yeah, you better be louder about that. Yeah, all right. But tomorrow, when you open those presents and you're having such a good time, don't forget about the greatest present of all. Don't forget about the birth of the baby Jesus, that God comes to be among us, to love us, just as we are. Amen.